Jason Fung, The Diabetes Code, Prevent and Reverse Type 2 Diabetes Naturally, the Code Series. Discover the alarming truth behind the rising epidemic of type 2 diabetes with The Diabetes Code by Jason Fung. In this eye-opening summary, you will delve into the causes and consequences of this increasingly prevalent condition. Grasp the key differences between type 1 and type 2 diabetes, uncover the role obesity and sugar, particularly fructose, have played in the diabetes crisis, and explore why insulin shots are not an ideal solution. Finally, learn about the most effective ways to prevent and reverse type 2 diabetes through dietary changes and intermittent fasting.
Diabetes, the two types explained. The prevalence of diabetes, especially type 2 diabetes, is increasing rapidly across the globe. Diabetes is a condition related to high blood sugar and is characterized by various symptoms, including thirst and frequent urination. There are 4 basic types of diabetes, with type 1 being an autoimmune disease that attacks insulin-producing cells and type 2 being caused by insulin resistance due to a sugar-rich diet. Unlike type 1 diabetes, which requires insulin shots to live safely, treatment for type 2 diabetes requires a different approach. Insulin shots are not suitable for treating type 2 diabetes as the problem is caused by too much insulin instead of a lack of it. Therefore, changing one's lifestyle and adopting a healthy diet is the best way to prevent and manage this type of diabetes. Diabesity and the link to obesity. The close connection between obesity and type 2 diabetes has been conclusively demonstrated by Walter Willett's research at Harvard University. However, neither of these conditions can be cured by merely consuming fewer calories, as our bodies will reduce their metabolic rates. Our hormones, particularly insulin, regulate our sense of hunger and calorie intake. Therefore, losing weight is about lowering insulin levels, and we need to avoid specific types of food. Liver damage and the role of glycogen. Excessive alcohol consumption is known to be harmful to the liver, but the liver can also be damaged by an excess of glycogen, which leads to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. Glycogen stores carbohydrates in our body, producing fatty deposits in the liver when consumed excessively. When the liver cannot keep pace with protein and carb intake, the fat remains in the liver, leading to insulin resistance. This creates a vicious cycle where the liver becomes fattier and less reactive to insulin. The study by Suzanne de la Monte found that insulin resistance can develop in as little as 3 weeks with 1,000 calories of sugary snacks per day. The good news is that the fatty liver effect can be reversed by reducing carb and fructose intake. The bitter truth about fructose. Discover why fructose is a major contributor to the development of type 2 diabetes and how it can lead to fatty liver disease. Robert Lustig's groundbreaking video on sugar's toxicity was an eye-opener for many people. One revelation that stood out was the fact that fructose is particularly harmful to the body and a significant contributor to the development of type 2 diabetes. Fructose, like glucose, is unhealthy and is almost devoid of any nutritional value, especially in its refined forms. The liver is responsible for breaking down fructose, but it's unable to metabolize large amounts of it. Unlike glucose, which is metabolized outside the liver, around 80% of fructose goes straight to the liver, where it can cause fatty liver disease and, ultimately, diabetes. What's more, fructose now plays a more significant role in our diets than ever before. In the 19th century, people consumed around 15 to 20 grams of fructose per day, primarily in fresh fruits with small amounts of the sugar. But by the 1970s, daily fructose consumption per person had increased to 37 grams, mainly due to increased sugar cane and sugar beet production. The worst development was the emergence of fructose-rich corn syrup, which was both cheap and widely available. By adding it to processed foods, from sauces to ready meals, bread, and sweets, and daily fructose consumption, per person in the US had increased to 78 grams by 2000. While fructose isn't necessarily harmful, the real problem is consuming too much of it. The author's research shows that countries that consume more corn syrup have an increased incidence of diabetes by approximately 20% compared to countries that consume less fructose. In conclusion, it's essential to understand that the epidemic of diabetes is largely caused by poor dietary choices. By reducing our intake of the highly processed food packed with fructose-rich corn syrup, we can make better choices for our health. Insulin not appropriate for type 2 diabetes treatment. Insulin shots are not a cure-all for type 2 diabetes as they can cause cardiovascular diseases. While insulin can help regulate blood sugar levels in the short term, it can lead to hardening of the arteries linked to heart attacks and strokes in the long run. Studies have shown that high insulin levels can be damaging to the health, and in some cases, even cause death at an earlier age. The American National Institute of Health's Massive Accord study from 1999 revealed that higher doses of insulin and medication increased the risk of cardiovascular fatalities by 22%, leading to the study's halt. Moreover, a Canadian study in 2010 discovered that type 2 diabetes patients receiving insulin treatments were 279% more likely to develop coronary diseases than other patients. Hence, insulin shots aren't appropriate for type 2 diabetes treatment, and research suggests that lowering blood sugar levels increases the risk of heart diseases. Solving type 2 diabetes with surgery. Adrian was weighed down not only by his excess weight but also by his disastrous health that cost him his job. Like many with severe health issues, he considered bariatric surgery, which is effective for not only weight loss but also for curing type 2 diabetes. Bariatric surgery removes a large part of the stomach and reduces the number of ingested calories, which uses up glycogen reserves and burns insulin-resistant fatty deposits. PR Shower showcased bariatric surgery's effectiveness at the Cleveland Clinic in 2012, where the surgery cured 95% of type 2 diabetes patients. Additionally, more than 70% of all patients observed lowered blood pressure and long-term weight loss. However, the procedure is invasive, expensive, and could lead to complications, including reduced nutrient absorption, infection, and internal bleeding. The good news is that there are simpler ways to achieve the benefits of bariatric surgery. Preventing and reversing type 2 diabetes. A hospital in Texas encountered the youngest type 2 diabetes patient in history, emphasizing the importance of preventing and reversing the disease. 2 practical strategies are available, starting with avoiding fructose, including sucrose and high fructose corn syrup. Refined carbohydrates, such as bread and white rice, also spike insulin levels and must be removed. Redefine your diet with healthy carbohydrates like brown rice and unrefined pasta and replace the vacancy with nourishing fatty foods like oils, fish, avocados, and nuts. Eating outside can also pose a threat, so consider checking the fructose content of the dish before ordering. The power of fasting for diabetes. Fasting is a traditional cure for diabetes that fell out of favor due to modern medicine. However, intermittent fasting has emerged as a successful approach. Unlike portion control, intermittent fasting works by decreasing the body's insulin production. In this way, it can help overcome insulin resistance, a big driver of type 2 diabetes. Studies have shown that intermittent fasting is an effective way to lose weight and lower insulin levels. It may be the best solution to treating diabetes.
The Diabetes Code provides valuable insights into the growing type 2 diabetes crisis and the crucial role our diets play in its development. By avoiding fructose and refined carbohydrates, embracing healthier alternatives such as whole wheat pasta and brown rice, and incorporating intermittent fasting, we can protect ourselves against this debilitating condition and even reverse its effects. It's clear that the key to combating this modern health epidemic lies in understanding its primary causes and making crucial lifestyle changes, thereby achieving improved health and better quality life.